Yeah, this program is Lost and Found Circle of Life, and this month's theme is color, materials that speak to you. So I was showing Keiko the tartan shirts that I am going to turn into an outfit of some sort. And it's all about finding materials around where you are in your house, in nature, transforming them into something new.
And this is a part of our intergenerational programming to facilitate intergenerational solidarity.
I'm being inspired already. So,
oh, perfect.
Earlier, my main thing is photography.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got all kinds of photos that I turn into cards, and I do other things with them as well.
Mm-hmm.
But then not too long ago, I started doing this sort of thing, and I hope you can see okay. I take a photograph and cut it up, and then I rearrange the strips, or I cut 2 or 3 photos and weave the strips together.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I love that.
That's so wonderful.
Here's another one where it's woven.
Oh, how interesting.
Wow.
So there's a green leaf and a shell.
Oh, wow.
So this is your original photo?
Or cut them up this way and
Different forms, yeah. Evocative, very evocative.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So these are just a few that I can show you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing I've done, we've been talking about seasons and fall colors and so on. Some years ago, I got some grapevines and bundled them together into a big oval.
Mm-hmm.
And created an art piece where that was the frame. Then more recently, I took it apart, kept the oval, and then, well, I'll show you.
Oh my God.
Interesting.
So it's like an indigenous medicine wheel in a way. So the spokes are twigs, and the center is a round of a tree trunk that I cut as a little slab. And then I wove natural and found objects into the spokes, yarn, paper, things I found on the street. And then I took a photograph of it and inserted that into this little oval, sort of showing that the whole is contained in a little part as well, so that the cycle of life is shown that way. So it's like a seed or an egg waiting to become, to come and do the circle round of the seasons again.
Wow.
I know you can't really see it that well on the screen, but it's about 3.5 feet wide.
Yeah, as soon as I saw it, it kind of reminded me of a dream catcher, actually.
Well, that too, yeah. And here's another weaving that I've done. This is called How Memory Works. And it's my very first weaving ever, and it's mainly yarn, but again, paper and photographs and other objects woven into it.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Now, one thing is interesting. Every one of us has, in one way or another, mentioned using materials that either they found or materials that are being repurposed.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that has fascinated me for a long, long time. I also love to sort of look behind the scenes of what goes on when art is created. every year when this year is going to be different, but every year when I go through the East Side Culture Crawl, I ask the artists if I could take pictures of their tools, for example, or the wood shavings on the floor, the things that are left over after something has been created. So I put together a little photo album. Sorry about the reflections there.
Okay.
Art in the margins, at the edge. Things like just the yarn that's left over after a project. It's the tangle of the yarn. Or these are all circles for tracing, different size circles that are hanging in a woodworking shop. Or this is the pattern for cutting out the body of a mandolin in an instrument maker's shop.
Wow.
That sort of thing. Or the wood slabs in a woodworker's shop.
Yeah, it's very sculptural.
So, and then the very, very last picture I took in that project was this.
Oh. Wow.
So that's another thing that I've done.
I love that, Rudy. That's
Or here, all the different colors the artist uses in his artwork. And it's amazing what you can find when you look at the edges of things.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, I like your comment about the repurposing. I was reading an article about how it's almost you're honoring the material because the story hasn't ended. So I think by picking up leftover material, we're actually continuing the story. The process is kind of unfolding, and it's almost non-linear. I think that's the neat thing about it, where a ready-made or something brand new is almost like there is no story because it's kind of like bland. Where, anyways, that's another comment.
Yeah, many years ago, I would go to old industrial sites or in behind factories and find usually metal objects out of which I created sculptures.
Nice.
Things that had been thrown away. I don't know if I'm just born with wanting to see the world in that way or how or what, but I do know it is related to how the human eye works. That's something that has fascinated me all my adult life, is when we look at something straight on and focus on it, we usually ignore what's in our peripheral vision. But there are some things we can only see out of the corner of our eye, so to speak, because first of all, right beside our focal point is the blind spot. So there's always something we miss. As there's a wonderful saying that I love: what you focus on determines what you miss.
Good one. Very, very,
and especially at night, when the cones in the center of the retina don't function that well in low light, that's when the rods come in. And so astronomers know that a very faint star you can only see when you look away. You can only see it out of the corner of your eye. If you try to focus on it, it disappears. So there's almost like edges built into the human eye. And that corresponds to the edges in between things in the world. And even in ecosystems, the edge, like the edge between a forest and a meadow, that's usually the most fertile place where things happen, where animals like to congregate or find their food. Or
wow. Wonderful.
I've got an analogy to that. The forest thing is they call the intertidal zone, where the seawater, the salt water kind of meets the the fresh water, and those areas, again, like you said, Rudy, are very full of possibilities.
Okay, that's called the estuary, right?
Estuary, yeah.
And I call myself the estuary man.